So this is the ATRO-20 from Accufire. This is Accufire's long-range shooting option. And before we kind of get into any of the specs, talk about anything else, I want to give you a full transparency. Accufire did send this out, but they didn't pay for the review or anything. I wanted to let you guys know, big topic right now in the gun industry. And I think it's fair to tell you guys what I'm getting for this review. I'm going to be as objective as I can, so take it for what you will. So let's dive into the specs, but before we do, shameless plug, of course, follow me on Instagram and check out Basement Operator Company. Basement Operator Company is my apparel line. It's been in the works for a while. We just did a 4th of July release, all right, and that will be going on and stay on the website until the end of July. So once it's gone, it's gone. Make sure to check it out. Make sure to pick up some American swag because, you know, why not? It's we spend a lot of time on it, and it means a lot to us. So please go check out it. First link in the description, means a ton. All right, so let's talk about specs, of course, for the ATRO-20. This is a 2.5 by 20 by 50 millimeter rifle scope. So this is not your close range optic by any means. It is a first focal plane scope. So if you're unfamiliar with that, essentially the gist of it is when you zoom, your reticle grows. In a second focal plane, you zoom and your reticle stays the same. So this is the first focal plane. If you want to learn more about that, there's thousands of videos online. It's way more than I can get into in a scope review. So price point runs about $12.59. But if you use code Delp, it will save you 5%. At least it'll cut the tax off, or depending on how much tax is charged. But 5% is 5%. So code Delp takes that $12.59, cuts it down a little bit, makes it a little bit more manageable. I know it's pricey, but this is their high-end optic. This is the best thing that Accufire has to offer right now in terms of glass. So let's talk a little bit about what you get for that $12.59. You get a 1.8 pound optic with a fantastic finish on it. You get a 34 millimeter tube. So scope mounts, scope rings are kind of, I wouldn't say they're a hard thing to come by for a 34 millimeter tube. There's just less options out there. These are Arrow mounts. You have Badger Ordnance, you have Reptilia. Those are pricier. I think the Arrow was about $80 to $90. That was the cheapest one I could find. So there's not that many options out there for the 34 millimeter. Primary Arms might have one, but I can't say for certain. So take that for what you will. It has an illuminated reticle. I will pop the reticle up on screen here somewhere. That reticle is a very, very intense reticle. It is meant for long range shooting. It's meant to provide you with wind holds, elevation, and all kinds of stuff. So look it up, understand it. When I was doing some long range shooting with it, I found it very useful. I think it's called the Mill Comp. Straylock does have it. So if you use the Straylock app or Sturlock or however you pronounce that shooting app, it does have it integrated in. So that's very useful. Okay. So let's talk about kind of how the optic is built out. It is a mill optic. So there's mill and MOA. This is mill. Your adjustments are 0.1 mil. If you do a full rotation on either the elevation or the windage, you can go 10 mils in a rotation. All right. And the total amount of mils you can travel is 35 for elevation and windage. So you have a lot of adjustments built in to this optic, which is good if you're shooting really long range and you're shooting maybe not such a powerful optic. You have to do a lot of holdover, or you have to, I guess, do a lot of adjustments. So you can compensate for a lot. Let's talk about the turrets, kind of how they sound, how they work. They are very audible turrets, okay? You can set it to 0. You can 0 your rifle in, and then you can set your 0. So all you have to do is take a flathead screwdriver, twist it out, reset the turret. Super simple process. Could not be simpler. So you have your side parallax here on the side. That allows you to focus from, I think it's about 50 yards out to 1,000 and then to infinity. This very common thing on a long range optic. Actually, it's a very common thing on a lot of optics. So not that big of a deal. You work your way down and you get your objective. I forgot to mention scope caps. You get your objective 50mm objective, the objective sight out to at its lowest magnification 2.5 is 44 feet, and at its highest magnification of 20 is 0.4 feet. This is just based on magnification versus objective size. It's not specific to the scope. So, and for more for you to know. And then last but not least, I'd like to talk about your eye relief. So this has a 3.5 to 3.3 inch eye relief. You kind of got a sweet spot there, but it's there, it's good, and I had no problem with it. Okay, so really nice little feature. So let's start talking about kind of how it performed. But before we talk about how it performed, I would like to thank the sponsor of today's video, LA Police Gear. If you're unfamiliar with LA Police Gear, they're a tactical company out of California, which is ironic, I know. But there's some really awesome people there. They make really good products like this range bag. I will have to say LA Police Gear's bags are second to none, all right? They are super nice. They have like all kinds of great zippers and whatnot. Very well made, but they are a little bit pricey. Another thing I really like from LA Police Gear, plate carriers. So there's a lot going on in the world right now. You can pick up a plate carrier for like 80 to 100 bucks. You can get plates, nice level 4 ceramic plates that take 30-06 AP great. Tested it myself for about 120 bucks each. Use code DELP10. We'll save you 10%. So go check out LA Police Gear. Big thanks again for them sponsoring the video. So let's talk about how this optic performed. I will be upfront with you. I haven't had a ton of long range experience. Here in Southwest Virginia, there is very little places to shoot good distance. And when I say good distance, I don't mean 400 yards, I mean 1,000 yards. Some people out west might be like, well, I can go do that in my backyard. Well, you can't here. 1,000 yards is a long way here, and I haven't had that much experience with it. So when I got this whole setup right here, the 6mm arc from Stag and the Accufire, I made it my goal to hit the 1K. Okay, I've been a close range shooter my whole entire life, 200-300 yards maxing in, and I was like, I'm going to do it. So I did it. I was able to take to 1,000 yards on one day. I went one day, and I was like, I am going to do it, and I did. The optic tracks really well. All right, I'm going to start by saying that. When I was doing my zeroing process, I was able to zero the optic. I was able to walk it up a line and walk it back down a line, and had no problems whatsoever. The adjustments, super audible. You can feel them really well. Something that's really important in a long range scope, because if you're making your adjustments, you want to make sure that you hear the click. You want to make sure you feel the click. And I feel like without that, it's next to nothing. All right, so I can say that performed great in that aspect. How was the glass? Super clear glass. You are paying $1,200 and some for an optic, so you want really good glass. And I can say that the Accufire ATRO-20 has crystal clear glass, and that's something throughout all the Accufire line. I've reviewed their 8 and their Evo 12, and both of those optics have had beautiful glass. So Accufire does a great job at making a high quality long shooting scope, and they make really good glass as well. What else is there to really say about it? I was able to take it as a new person, 1,000 yard shot. We started out with a 300 yard, backed it to a 600 yard, and then backed it to 1,000 yard. And I was very impressed, especially from somebody going from not having that much experience to being able to go out there and do it on the first day. Accufire had a great optic. I was able to use the holds correctly, tracked great, and I can say I was very impressed with the optic. And I was expecting so, because like I had mentioned, the price point. What I was using was Hornady Black. I believe it was 108 grain, I do believe. Might have to pop that up in the bottom if I was wrong on the actual grainage for the 6mm arc. But that was provided by Kerr Ammo, which is one of the biggest sponsors of the channel. They helped me out a ton. And they're great people down in Texas. I mean, they're awesome. They are good American loving people. They're spreading freedom seeds across the country. So if you want to get some high quality ammo, and that's what Kerr is really good for. Kerr has hunting ammo, they have long range shooting ammo, they have all that stuff that it's harder to come by. So that's what Kerr really specializes in. I couldn't recommend them enough. Use code DELP10 for $10 off your first order. No minimum order. So if you pick up some high quality hunting ammo for like 20 bucks a box, it's 10 bucks a box. If you pick up some high quality long range shooting ammo for $40 a box, and you only buy one box, it's a $30 box of ammo. So there's no reason not to use code DELP10 to save you $10 on that first order with Kerr. Let's talk about kind of who this optic is for, okay? Because this optic is not for everybody, and I stand by that. I would not buy this optic if I'm looking for a hunting optic. I would not buy this optic if I am your casual shooter shooting 200, 300, 400 yards. It's unnecessary. I would recommend like an Evo 12 from Accufire for that, but not this bad boy. This is a long range shooter optic, and I wouldn't recommend it for anybody else, okay? You're paying for what you get. It's a pricey optic, but it does really well. I would recommend it for anyone trying to get into long range shooting. If you are starting out, like myself, I would recommend this. If you are using it for competition, you want to get into competitions or are already shooting competitions for long range, I can say that this thing is great. Like, it tracks well. It's crystal clear when you're shooting that distance. 1,000 yards, my gong looks perfect. I'm very, very impressed by it, and I think that if you're a long range shooter, you will not be disappointed in the optic. That's who I really think this optic caters to, and I think it does a really good job at what it's supposed to do, okay? So I kind of want to wrap the video there. I think that really about does it. Big thank you to Accufire. You remember, use code DELP, save 5% on this. Big thank you to Elliott Police Gear for sponsoring the video because they're awesome. Code DELP10 to save 10% there. And also, big thank you to myself for Basement Operator Company. Make sure to go check that out. Like and follow me on Instagram. And I think that about does it. I'll see y'all in the next one. Take someone outdoors. Peace. Homie.
Here, kitty, 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 kitty. You got a Sharpie?
Golly, Slim Shady. What are you doing out here?
Let me go catch it for you.
There's a baby fox out.